Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel studios. All right, first guest on the show today, Kim Leadford, CEO, StarStream Entertainment, symbol on the stock SSET. This is one of the hottest up-and-coming filmmakers there is in the world. This girl has got it going on. All right, Kim, welcome to the show. Thank you. Thank you very much for showing up.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then I want to hear all about the films that you're making and the business model and everything else you brought.
Certainly. Well, I'm a lawyer by trade. I started off in my legal career in music law, and then quickly switched to film law and began working for a production company called Baldwin Entertainment and was head of business and legal affairs, then became president of that company. And then we started producing films. And here we are today with 3 great films in the can. The Butler, which was one of the top grossing independent films this year, starring Oprah Winfrey, Forrest Whitaker, Robin Williams, and a huge, huge cast. Then we did a Jennifer Aniston film called Life of Crime. Life of Crime did very well. It was the closing film at Toronto International Film Festival, and then was picked up by Lionsgate for distribution. Then we did a great film called Life After Beth, which is a zombie comedy starring Aubrey Plaza and John C. Reilly and Dane DeHaan and Anna Kendrick. And this is a great little movie that is going to do really well at the box office. Very funny, received really well at Sundance Film Festival. Was able to sell it to A24 for our domestic deal. And we're doing really well selling our foreign territories. We're looking at Life of Crime coming out in June, and Life After Beth should come out in late spring, early summer.
All right, wonderful. Let's get into some of the films. Did you handle everything for the movies? And I wanted to find out from somebody who actually is starting off in the industry, tremendous start right out of the gate with The Butler. Did you find putting all of the right players in the right places something that was a real challenge, or did it just happen to fall into place for you?
It was a challenge. It was, originally set up at Sony, and for some reason the studios couldn't find out how to market it. It seems an obvious marketing piece for most people, having Oprah Winfrey attached and Forrest Whitaker. But the studios have really moved away from smaller independent films. And so a woman named Laura Ziskin, who passed away last year, she was the creator of Spider-Man for Sony and then the franchise. And her partner kept the spirit of the film going, kept everyone attached. And eventually things fell into place with a group of investors, or about 10 of us. And, that was the real challenge. One of the investors, started BET. Every investor came from, tremendous affluential background. And so to have 10 investors, fall into line, agree on the same thing, the same approach in terms of production, the financing, the budget, and then distribution. And she did a great job, our producer, in bringing us all together. I don't think there were many disagreements with us. So I think the real challenge was there. And then the other challenge was, the cast schedule. This was a huge cast. There was Lenny Kravitz, Cuba Gooding Jr., Mariah Carey, and to think of all of these folks, and all of their schedules aligning at the same time seems miraculous. In addition to that, we shot it in New Orleans, and just having Oprah's entourage alone was taxing on the city. So, there were challenges in the production. And then another interesting challenge was Hurricane Isaac came through while we were shooting, so it shut down production for a week. But that's why you get production insurance. So it was a challenge, but it was a wonderful experience.
That's a good story. I'd love to just be a fly on your wall every so often.
It's just great. My old boss told me that, making a movie is a miracle, and it really is. Especially, when you have these big films and big talent. Let's take Life of Crime, for example. Jennifer Aniston's the biggest star on the planet. To have, a movie fit into her schedule, and then have it fit in the Tim Robbins schedule and John Hawkes' schedule, and then Isla Fisher's schedule. And it's a 26, day shoot, so you have all these folks coming away from their families for 26 days in the freezing cold. We shot it in Connecticut. And to create, such a beautiful film with this type of cast and having everything align, is miraculous. And we're fortunate enough to have a great production team and a great management team to, tie down these actors, make sure that the timing works for them. And it's sometimes, herding cats, and we just have some great cat herders.
Good. Congratulations on your success. Let me move forward here just a little bit about going public. That's a path that's filled with ups and downs and potholes and roadblocks. Talk to me about that.
Sure. StarStream started off with a mission to become a scalable entertainment company. So we sat around and we tried to figure out what the best way to do that was. And we originally envisioned going public at some point. So the question was when to go public. Are we too soon to go public? And we knew that we had 3 strong assets that would create and shape a narrative for us, both in a public market and also in our industry. So we thought it was a good time to do it then because the value for potential shareholders was there. And we knew what we had. So, we decided to do it. And one of the major reasons to go public is to raise capital in the public markets. But another great reason, which can be a double-edged sword, is, the sort of transparency that you have, which distinguishes us from a lot of other production and entertainment companies. As most of your listeners know, there's a concept of Hollywood mathematics. And there's nothing to really hide when you're in a public company. So if the positive tension and positive pressure of transparency is actually a value add to a production company, a media company. So that was very appealing to us. Also, I'm 39 and I got into this business right around the market crash. So I started off in 2007, and I grew up in a very simple family with simple principles of life, and I got out to LA and realized that there was something wrong. There was something that just didn't feel right. And then, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And then the Bernie Madoff scandal came out. And I remember seeing Warren Buffett on CNN, and he said, "You never know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out." And I was like, that's it. They're all swimming naked. And so it forced my brother, Dan, who's a co-founder of StarStream, and he was a partner of mine back then, it forced us to, come up with a way of doing this business in a transparent way because we knew that the marketplace needed that transparency. And I think you see that across all different industries where there was just this need to see through every transaction. So we come out of that school and we brought that to StarStream, and it made a lot of sense for us to go public for that reason. It forces us to be honest. It forces us to share our hand with our investors. And it just made a lot of sense. And obviously there's another positive of going public, which is the positive tension and pressure to perform and to exceed your expectations because you are so exposed. And that sort of exposure, I think just naturally forces the leadership and management team to step up their game and to perform really well for its shareholders.
Well, you're doing a fabulous job. I mean, you're bringing great product to the table. It's very shortly. I see great things ahead. Now, we're going to need to go into a commercial break here shortly. Before we do, please contact information for any of our listeners who'd like to know more about your stock, your films, SSETs, the symbol, ladies and gentlemen. Please bring that up for us.
Sure. Please go to StarStreamEntertainment.com. You can take a look at our press releases, our upcoming films, such as Trouble Dolls and Shut Up and Drive, give you our management profiles, and please check out our ticker symbol, SSET.
All right. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. And when we come back, if we can, I'd like to talk about the milestones for 2013 and what's coming up for 2014. All right?
Great. Thanks, Michael.
All right. You're welcome. We'll be right back on the other side of this break with Kim Leadford, CEO, StarStream Entertainment. I want to put a big shout out to Monk Media and 1-800 Public Relations for all their PR and media support. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel Studios. All right. My special guest today, Kim Leadford, CEO, StarStream Entertainment. I said it on the last time, I'll say it again. This is the hottest filmmaker to hit the scene. She's got tremendous success right out of the gate. All right, Kim, welcome back to the second segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, my pleasure. Now, let's talk about this on this segment, some of the business aspects. Let's first cover, the milestones you hit in 2013, what you've got coming up in 2014, and then, if you would, open it up a little bit about your typical deal and maybe, how that flows. But first, the things that you've done in 13.
Sure. 2013 was an amazing year for StarStream. We started off the year producing and wrapping on the Jennifer Aniston film Life of Crime. We were able to take that film from pre-production, production and post-production, and get it into Toronto International Film Festival and picked up for distribution in a record 7 months. And we also had a great summer with the release of The Butler. We won Best of Box Office 3 weeks in a row. Before the end of the year, we grossed $160 million worldwide box office on a $30 million film. That helped us to crystallize our view of our approach, which is having strong cast, lean budget with commercial viability. In addition to that, obviously the big milestone was going public. That was an amazing, challenging adventure for everyone involved. Our co-founder and chairman, Charles Bonan, who is the visionary behind this public entity, and Daniel McCarney, the co-founder and chief content officer. We also we wrapped on two great films. One is Life After Beth, another one that's still in editing, which is called Trouble Dolls. And we have another small film called Shut Up and Drive. And so we just had a great year. We produced 5 films. 3 were already picked up for distribution. And, it's just been an incredible year with a lot of great positive movement and great teams sort of forming around us.
That is tremendous, tremendous work. Now, you had mentioned a 7-month turnaround. Is that a typical deal, or is that something that just was fast-tracked?
It was fast-tracked because of the way that StarStream approaches the film space. We enter in during what we call the 7th inning, where all the expensive development costs are already assumed by another group, whether it's a production company. Development is very challenging, and a lot of scripts don't make it out of development. It's very expensive in terms of financial capital and human capital. For example, the production company that I ran, Baldwin Entertainment Group, produced the award-winning film Ray. Ray took 8 years to get out of development. It became, an international hit, also did $150 or $60 million in the box office, but took a long time to get done. So the way that we approach it is we don't believe in the long, arduous task of development. So we get in, we produce it, we edit it, we get it into distribution, and, we do it as quickly as we can. We like to turn around our capital and spend as little in terms of human capital as possible.
You are typically in a high risk, as far as an investor profile would look at it, sector of the marketplace. Talk to me about mitigating that risk.
Sure. Well, there are plenty of ways to mitigate risk in the industry. One is to have access to high-level content, high-quality content, and also have access to distributors, major distributors. So that thing there, the access, is one of the big ways to mitigate risk. In addition to that, you have to have talent in your film that drives what we call foreign sales. So before you greenlight a project, before StarStream greenlights a project, we take a look at the cast and we run numbers with foreign distributors to determine what the value would be both on the high end and the low end of the film if the film wasn't good. So we take those numbers and we say, okay, this is a type of risk that we're now exposed to. For example, we don't like to expose our risk more than 40%. So we have to get 60% in foreign sales covered. So in addition to that, we like to film in tax-friendly states. Most states in the United States have some sort of tax subsidy, meaning they either give us transferable tax credits or a rebate Jennifer Aniston film, Life of Crime, was shot in Connecticut. They have a 30% tax credit. After broker's fees and all of that, it gets down to about 24%. And then the little piece that's left after that in the financing structure is the equity, and that's where we come in. The equity benefits from the upside, but we've mitigated the risk as much as possible, so it becomes a highly, a less risky prospect. So, that is our criteria. We'll not go into a project of that level without having the risk mitigated by about 70-80%.
Then at that point, to coin a phrase that a friend of mine came up with, then it's Burbankable.
Yeah, exactly. And, you have some educated guess on how these films will do in terms of domestic distribution and box office. So, there is some sort of, risk that you have to take, but we don't have, and this is ironic, we don't have a real appetite for risk in a very risky business.
Well, that's good to hear, especially from somebody who's risking their hard-earned capital on your next venture. All right, let's talk about that, risking their hard-earned capital with new partners with you. You have some exciting things coming up in 2014. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so we have the release of Life of Crime and Life After Beth, both in the late spring, early summer. We also have 2 films that are being edited that will be released hopefully sometime in late summer, early fall. And then we're also trending towards diversifying our genres. So, as most of you guys know, the horror genre is a hot genre. There's a lot of money to be made in that space. We are now about ready to launch a horror label, and the economics that I just laid out and the financial structures apply to that genre as well. And I think it's important to diversify genres, but I also think it's important to play in a space that's highly profitable and highly marketable. So we're going to see a lot of movement there. We're also taking a real look at television right now. It's low-cost production, if any cost at all. A lot of times the network picks up your shows and pays for it. And because of this, as you probably all know, there's a binge consumption issue that's forcing a content race. A lot of the different networks are just spending a lot of money on content because they can't keep up with the demand. And we'd like to, play in that space and develop a meaningful business there. Now,
when you say television, are you talking specifically about your classic broadcast television or IPTV also?
IPTV, web series, Netflix is spending a lot of money right now on content, original content. Hulu's spending money on original content, DirecTV. Really anywhere you look, if there's a place to show some sort of web series or television show, that person, that platform is paying for original content because there's a huge demand and supply issue there.
Going forward on the IPTV genre, do you see any specific genres that are going to be more appealing to the general public than other? You had mentioned horror, but IPTV can be different than film. So I was wondering what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of what we look at as bro comedies. These are comedies that, a lot of guys are interested in. Mark Duplass is doing a great job, and Nick Kroll in this space. And, and they're cheap to make, and they're funny, and it's not expensive in terms of human capital because the stuff is written off the cuff. There's a real demand out there for authenticity. That's why you see shows that appear as reality, but it's not reality. Curb Your Enthusiasm, for example. So you're going to see a lot of that type of format. Also, because of the supply and demand issue, folks are producing content on the fly. And so they're naturally going to look more realistic because you don't have the time for the bells and whistles.
All right. Any events coming up in the near future? We're about to close out on the segment. I just want to give our audience one last way to reach you.
We will have a show on Fox Business News next week. We'll also you'll be hearing a lot from us from our foreign distribution deals that we're tying up right now with Life After Beth. You will see Life After Beth and Life of Crime in the theaters within the next couple of months, and I'm really excited for everybody to share in that experience with us. This is a really exciting time for StarStream, and just stay tuned. stay on StarStreamEntertainment.com.
Perfect. And SSET for the stock symbol, right?
Absolutely.
I really hope that you can come back onto the show, and when you debut, when you bring out a new movie, you can talk to us about it here on our show.
Absolutely, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, Kim. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Kim Leadford, CEO, StarStream Entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear a lot more about that woman and from that woman. SSET is the symbol on her stock. Go check it out. It's well worth it. All right. On the other side of this break, and before I forget, special thanks to Monk Media and 1-800-Public Relations for all their PR and media support. All right, up next, we're going to be bringing on John Zimmerman, CEO, Front Desk. If you've got a business, you need what this man does. We'll be right back.